Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. A little bit different this week because of things going on in the European side of the world. We're doing a little bit of privacy, a little bit of security, and some tech intersects with World War III, because why not? And I promise it's not going to be like, this guy drove a tank into this place and blah, blah, blah. No, it's going to be far more exciting than that. It's going to be like, I don't know, Crazy Lunatic meets World War or something. I don't know. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Just a couple privacy items. Number one, Utah is getting closer to a consumer privacy bill. Not sure if this is necessarily going to be an end-all. I think that a lot of these consumer privacy bills are way too narrow. I think that they need to make these bills way more comprehensive and give me the total option to say, no, you must completely, specifically, explicitly opt in to collect anything. But anyway, it did come back from, it's bounced back and forth from committee in the House, and then it went into Senate, and then went back to the House with very minimal changes. Pretty much the only change was to safeguard one portion of biometric data, talking about biometric data and excluding it from certain things with medical procedures. So if you had a medical procedure, obviously many people would look at a medical procedure and suggest that that is biometric, and it basically tied this out. But the overall law does not apply to government entities, business entities that are covered pursuant to the HIPAA, which no, I think that those need to be included as well, because they are collecting way too much information as well. There's some consumer rights. Bill protects consumers, which are individuals who are Utah residents acting as an individual or household, not in employee or commercial context. Consumers would have rights to access, correction, deletion, portability, and right to opt out of certain processing. Consumers also have a right to opt out of certain processing, including the sale of personal data. See, what they need to do is they need to have a comprehensive bill which basically says nobody's allowed to collect, sell, or any other data. Basically, we need to shut down the data brokers and shut down the credit reporting agencies. Shut them all down. If you want to do business with Equihacks, then you can explicitly do business. But I have never done business with Equihacks, and it makes no sense that my data is leaked out with everybody else's data and that they get nothing but a slap on the wrist and say, well, we'll give you a year of identity theft. No, they didn't even give you that. We'll give you a year of credit monitoring. What a useless piece of garbage. That credit monitoring does absolutely nothing. Nothing. All those companies, because that was a negligent thing that caused Equihacks, they should have just shut them down. Just shut them down. You have too much data, shut them down, force delete the data. There's no business collecting all of this information. That's what the privacy rights should be. But hey, we can take every little step that we can and move on from there. And on to a little bit more sinister news. Google Meet is now sharing detailed information about your bandwidth to your employer. In response to everybody working from home now, and if you happen to drop off from a meeting, no more going, oh, I just dropped off from the meeting, my internet went bad. Well, you can't lie to your boss anymore, because Google Meet is now going to be sharing detailed information about your bandwidth. If you drop off of a meeting, then they're going to show you that the bandwidth of your internet connection. Basically, if you drop out and say it's the bandwidth and they check on it, and Google Meet has reported that your bandwidth has not actually dropped off, then yeah, that's the type of stuff they're doing. So pretty much garbage. This is why you want to get away from utilizing all of these types of tools. And you can kind of see the basic readout here. Down here at the bottom, assume everything you do in Workspace account is logged and saved. That's a bit creepy, but your school or employer is the one paying for this, so it gets all the data. So yeah, all of your information about basically everything on your computer is owned by the people who are giving you the account. So that's something to keep in mind. Moving on into some security news. DDoSers are using a new potential method to deliver attacks of unthinkable sizes. So what this actually has to do with is these new AI machines that are coming in line to scan for misinformation, bad, sensitive material, all these types of things. Basically, the computer systems that's looking for these types of posts on social media sites and things like this, well, there's a little bug in them that seems to be open to being a taken over into a giant botnet. And these aren't little Raspberry Pis. These are really big, beefy computers. And basically what can happen is these guys can cycle DDoS attackers between themselves in such a way to provide a constant rolling, massive DDoS attack when they are compromised. And so there's no examples of this happening in the wild as of yet, but it is a concern that some security researchers have found. And it basically means that these guys could take off a lot of sites because everything is constantly rolling with big beefy computers. That kind of is a problematic thing. And our last article, T-Bot. This is we talked about this briefly in the past. This is a banking app Trojan. It's going to be looking for banking applications on your phone. It's going to collect copies of your SMS messages and things like that. And basically, they have a new attack vector. Again, we talked about this back in the beginning of 2021. It would disguise itself as a few different applications: TTV, VLC, media player, probably a fake one. I hope a fake one. DHL and UPS apps. Well, recent ones, the recent ones are utilizing a side loading technique, and they can roll through a couple of different applications. So the reason we want to talk about this is the latest one was a QR code and barcode scanner, which a lot of people download these because there's not generally a native app that I know of that goes on a lot of phones. But the methodology here is important. Any app that has this type of behavior, delete it immediately and do not allow it to do its thing. You download the app, it's going to prompt you that it needs an update immediately after you install it, but it's not going to go through the updating process as usually does on the Play Store. It's going to pull up a prompt that's going to download it and have you sideload the app. Well, that sideloaded app, which skips the Google Play Store, is your malicious app. It does do what it says it's going to do to draw off suspicion, but it is a backdoor Trojan looking for any one of dozens of banking apps and skimming your SMS messages, of course, to get your 2FA codes. So just be aware of any app that you download that's going to give you a pop-up prompt for a separate update. You want to avoid this. And so here you want to allow QR code add-on to have full access to your device. Oh, yeah, of course, because a QR code reader needs absolutely to know what my contacts look like. Yeah. But a lot of people don't realize a lot of the stuff. Oh, yeah, whatever. Click whatever. And that's what happens. And so, of course, we're getting some in Europe, and the United States has a lot more cases of this one. They're seeing some Russian, some Chinese ones, which are kind of new. Usually these have been, I believe they were mostly, I can't remember where they were mostly originally. But here are the current apps we see now: QR code, barcode scanner. There's an add-on for it. There's a few other ones down here, and there's some other information. So be aware of any application that follows this general trend in how things work. Well, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can check out our affiliates. Today we are highlighting ProWritingAid, tlm.li/PWA. You can get 20% off of your yearly subscription or lifetime subscription, and that will help out the channel. Of course, if you want to do a monthly subscription, it still helps out the channel. There's no discount with that. And they do have some free resources as well, so have a look over their website at ProWritingAid.com to have a look at the free resources. And then if you are interested in getting a subscription with our affiliate, use tlm.li/PWA. So let's go ahead and have a look at World War III now. So what's happening over here in the world? Of course, there is apparently a war going on between Russia and Ukraine, and I didn't want to cover any of those basic things. But of course, Russia's like, hey, if any of you guys mess with us, we're going to start dropping nukes on people, and well, that would kind of suck. And I think they still have their mutual assured destruction system online, but nobody quite knows for sure. But in the middle of all this, it's kind of funny to watch our current wussy culture involved in a war, because what do we think to do? Cancel, cancel! We want to push cancel culture on a war-hungry dictator and seeing if that actually does anything. There's some good news in some of this. There's some bad news in some of this. There's one of them that was so crazy, I moved it to Sillyville. Just so you know. Not all of our World War III news is here. Some of it's in Sillyville because it just got crazy. But anyway, Ukraine, it's kind of starting by Ukraine asking everybody and their brother to stop doing things with Russia. And so they did ask the cryptocurrencies to freeze Russian user accounts. The major cryptocurrencies are saying, no. Which is kind of good, because, you know, the whole idea between cryptocurrency is get away from some centralization, get away from some of this control. Now we're talking about Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, because while you can, if you have a cryptocurrency exchange, you can exchange things peer-to-peer, but if you don't, you need to go through a central repository. There is a centralization, at least to convert your crypto to fiat. And so in this section here, they basically said, no, if there's a specific problematic person that we have ample evidence of their problematic nature, they can do that. But they're like, no, we're not actually going to be banning all of crypto just because somebody happens to be born in Russia. And so that was actually good news for that. YouTube blocks Russia Today and Sputnik channels in Europe. I didn't check if we can get them here in the States. Can we still watch RT in United States? Anybody confirm that for me? Let me know in the comments. But I guess in Europe you can't watch it because, yeah, how dare we possibly know what Russia is doing? You'd think you'd want to know what the enemy's doing. Bring it on, even if it's propaganda. Who cares? I think that Europeans are big boys and they can figure out what's true and what's not based on the information, but who am I to suggest? Well, Facebook does the same thing, though. Facebook blocks RT and Sputnik pages as well. They're like, no, bro, we're not going to do any of that. That would kind of suck. And so we're getting more canceling back and forth. Netflix, they declined to carry the Russian propaganda channels. This one's a little more interesting because in order for Netflix to do business in Russia, they are required to carry 20 different channels, which are, you know, free-to-air Russian news, sports, entertainment, things like this. Well, Netflix is like, no, we're going to try and still do some business, but we're not carrying your free channels. So Netflix is now canceling Russia as well. That's kind of exciting to see what's going on there. So Apple halts product sales in Russia. Now, Ukraine asked them to shut off the App Store as well. And last I heard, I read a couple articles. I had so many here, I threw some of them out. Last I heard, the App Store is still on for the most part in Russia. So they haven't killed the App Store, but they have stopped selling products over there. And so Apple they're getting in and they're pulling out of Russia as well. So all you guys over there in Russia, you will just have to stick with your Android products. And then Anonymous, the hacker group, they decide that they want to declare cyberwar against the Russian government over the Ukraine invasion. So this is interesting. And basically, I threw out another one where Ukraine brought on a whole bunch of computer hackers and a bunch of state-run Russian sites went down. So Anonymous is now cyber hacking left, right, and center on Russia, trying to shut some things down over there as well. So now all the hackers are going against it. So what we start to see here is this giant push to have everybody in the world push against Russia. Just don't fire any bullets. Just pull your products out. And of course, we get over here in America, we're dumping out Russian vodka that we've already paid for. May as well drink it if you have it, you know. You've already given them the money. Just promise not to buy any more. And the most troubling story of all, which we think is going to go the right way here, but Ukraine asks ICANN to revoke Russian domains and shut down DNS root servers. This would basically shut down the internet in Russia, but this would actually impact a lot of other things as well. So this is kind of a problematic thing. And they basically say, hey, we don't want Russia to be able to access anything on the internet, so shut them down. Basically their access to the outside world by shutting down .ru. Is that WWIII, or are those Russian characters? I don't know. They look kind of like Greek to me. And then .su, which are 3 Russian-specific domain names. And they sent the letter out. ICANN confirms they have received the letter. They have not commented on what they're doing. But a lot of people are suggesting that no, they probably won't do this because ICANN is explicitly a totally neutral source. And so for them to just pull out of Russia altogether and simply revoke, and Ukraine's asked them, revoke all SSLs, that will cause a lot of other chaos, not just for Russia, but for the rest of the world as well. This is crazy. This is an absolute ludicrously insane. If you think Vladimir Putin is insane, whatever the president over there at Ukraine, he is equally insane for asking such a thing. This is insane. This is crazy. And so hopefully it goes the right way, but we'll kind of see what happens. I just think it's interesting that the whole world is just canceling Russia right now over all this. And I will point out, just to play devil's advocate, that Ukraine is about as corrupt as Russia is. I'm not sure there's a good person in this fight. I don't know. I don't have a dog in it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you would like to help support the channel, we do have a Subscribestar page, subscribestar.com/switchedtolinux, if you'd like to jump on in and join us over there. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time. Thank you for watching this video from SwitchedToLinux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.